Welcome to this masterclass explainer on the scale of operations. Today, we're unpacking that classic David versus Goliath reality of the UK retail market. I mean, we hear it all the time, right? Bigger businesses always have the advantage. But is that actually true? Does bulking up automatically make a company more competitive? Or does it just introduce a whole new set of hidden vulnerabilities? Whether you're studying business strategy or you're just fascinated by how retail giants operate, this explainer is going to give you the exact technical tools you need to analyze growth. Here's our roadmap for today. We're going to cover 1. The scale advantage, 2. Impacting the bottom line, 3. The risks of growth, 4. We'll look at some real-world context with far more cycles, and 5. The final evaluation. Let's get right into it. Section 1. The scale advantage. Okay, let's dive into exactly what happens to a business's efficiency as it grows. Because, you see, growth isn't just about making more money in total. It actually changes the fundamental math of how a business operates day to day. The core concept here is economies of scale. By definition, these are the cost advantages a business gains as its production scale increases, which then leads to lower average costs per unit. Notice that key phrase right there, average costs per unit. It's not that their total costs go down. A bigger business obviously spends way more money overall, but the cost to produce or buy each individual item, that drops. And frankly, that is the holy grail of operational efficiency. So there are 3 main internal economies you need to focus on when a business expands. First up, technical economies. This just means larger firms can afford to invest in highly specialized, automated machinery or IT systems that just wouldn't make financial sense for a tiny shop. Second, purchasing economies. You probably know this as bulk buying. Think about it. If you're ordering 10,000 bicycles instead of just 10, your suppliers are going to give you a massive discount. And finally, financial economies. Banks basically view large, established corporations as lower risk, which means they can secure loans at significantly lower interest rates than a small startup ever could. All right, moving on to Section 2, impacting the bottom line. Now, how do we translate all those operational advantages directly into financial performance? Well, in business analysis, it's never enough to just say a business is saving money. We have to prove exactly how that impacts their competitive standing. To build a truly sophisticated chain of reasoning, we need to connect the dots. Step 1. A large farm leverages purchasing economies of scale through bulk buying. Step 2. This directly leads to lower average unit costs. And now, Step 3. Assuming the business keeps their selling price exactly the same as their smaller competitors, those lower unit costs mean they pocket more money from every single sale. Ultimately, that leads to higher operating profit margins. See? That is how a standard observation becomes a really sharp analytical concept. Now it's your turn to put this kind of analytical thinking into practice. Teachers and students, pause the explainer now and complete task 1 by writing out your own logical steps based on the financial outcomes we just discussed. Just make sure to explicitly link that reduction in unit costs directly to the final operating profit margin. Section 3, the risks of growth. Let's see how this all builds into strategic risks, because getting bigger isn't always better. In fact, sometimes unregulated growth can literally be a company's downfall. This brings us to a super critical but honestly often overlooked concept, diseconomies of scale. This is defined as the increase in average costs per unit of production as a business expands beyond its optimal size. Yeah, you heard that right. If you grow too much, your efficiency actually drops, and the cost to produce each unit starts climbing right back up. So why does this happen? Well, we categorize these operational failures into what we call the 3 C's of diseconomies. First, a breakdown in control. With thousands of employees, management just can't monitor everyone, and that leads to waste or lowered productivity. Second, poor communication. Messages get lost or totally distorted as they travel down numerous layers of a massive corporate hierarchy. It's like a giant game of telephone. And third, a lack of coordination. Massive departments can become heavily siloed, sometimes literally working against each other. When these 3 C's hit, operational efficiency just plummets. All right, Section 4. Context with far more cycles. The absolute crucial point here is applying this academic theory to a real-world scenario. Let's ground these concepts by looking at the UK bicycle retail sector, which is a market with fierce competition. Meet far more cycles. Established in Oxford back in 2002, they are an independent, worker-owned cooperative with just 3 shops: Oxford, Birmingham, and Manchester. Their mission isn't just about maximizing profit. They exist to provide affordable bikes, promote the benefits of cycling, and build a fairer society through cooperative ownership. They really pride themselves on passion, specialist expertise, and deep, deep links with their local community. And this brilliantly illustrates the contrast at the heart of our David versus Goliath scenario. On one side, Farmore relies on core values like democracy, honesty, and local community ties to win over customers. On the flip side, you have national giants like Helfords or Decathlon. These chains have massive scale. They're buying tens of thousands of bikes, unlocking huge purchasing economies. They can afford massive digital marketing campaigns to drive down customer acquisition costs. They literally have all the mathematical advantages of size. This presents a massive strategic challenge for small independents. I mean, how do you fight back when the math is against you? Think about how a smaller cooperative secures funding compared to a huge corporate giant, or how they might leverage their unique structure. Teachers and students, pause the explainer now and complete task 2. Section 5, the final evaluation. Finally, we need to stress test this theory. We're moving up to the highest level of strategic thinking here by weighing the tangible benefits of growth against the very real risks. As the assessment guidelines remind us, a sophisticated evaluation requires a business to decide which factors it values most and weight them accordingly. You've got to weigh the strategic benefits of achieving those lower unit costs against the sheer danger of poor communication and loss of control in a fast-changing market. For a business like Farmore, keeping their local agility and stellar customer service, basically avoiding those diseconomies of scale, might actually be way more valuable than just shaving a few pounds off the cost of a bike. All right, it's time to put a stake in the ground. You have the theory, the formulas, and the real-world context. Now it is time for your final justified judgment. Teachers and students, pause the explainer now and complete task 3. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a thought. Does massive scale guarantee a competitive advantage? While economies of scale are incredibly powerful tools for driving down costs and boosting margins, they aren't magic. As companies swell in size, that creeping threat of diseconomies, like lost communication and rigid hierarchies, becomes very, very real. And in a fast-paced market, the passion, local community links, and specialist expertise of an independent retailer might just be the one competitive advantage that size simply cannot buy. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive. I challenge you to look closely at the next retail store you walk into. Are you seeing the benefits of scale or the cracks of diseconomy? Keep analyzing, and I'll see you in the next explainer.